Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. Please give a warm welcome to Angela Smith. She is a researcher, a writer, a remote viewer, and gives remote viewing training courses. She is trained with the best. She formerly worked for Robert Bigelow in research. She has published 4 books: Remote Perceptions, Diary of an Abduction, Shire, and River of Passion. She is a life coach and a shamanic practitioner in Boulder City, Nevada, and she's currently working on a novel based on her early years working in Colombia, as well as a new assessment tool that measures intuition. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Angela Thompson Smith to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning.
What a background, my God. What haven't you done?
I've tried to take opportunities when they arrive, training and new experiences, and I found them each one at the time when I take the training or I follow the path. I'm not sure where it's leading, but everything that I've done during my lifetime has been part of a whole plan. I mean, it's just worked out beautifully.
Now, you're from England, aren't you?
Originally, I've been over here in the States 30 years.
You have a beautiful accent. What part of England are you from?
The West Country, Bristol's my hometown.
Do you miss it?
I've been back, and it's always there. I keep in touch with the village, Shire.
You have trained with the best in remote viewing, the original Stargate project team.
Right. Trained initially with Paul Smith in the first phases, the first stages of controlled remote viewing. Went on to train then with Lynn Buchanan, and have been back since with Paul for refresher courses. And very different approach to training, terminologies, but both excellent teachers.
Do you think that remote viewing as a tool now, that beginners would be really able to do something different with their lives aside from just increase their intuition? Do you think that extended remote viewing could be practical for newbies?
I think I just have to clarify something. Remote viewing doesn't make you more intuitive. It works with the intuitive level that you already have, but facilitates how you are able to use it. And I think ERV, the extended remote viewing, which relies more on an altered state, anybody can do that. And it certainly opens people up to becoming more able to use their intuition. Controlled remote viewing is a little bit more sequential and ordered, but I've seen some wonderful results from people just coming to do the first stages.
Now, you teach remote viewing, don't you?
I do, yes. I have classes here in Boulder City over Skype, and I also travel to other locations.
Have you been contracted to do the remote viewing, not just to teach it, but to do it for others?
Absolutely. I've worked for one client, a business client. I can't name names or any of the details, but I've worked for him now for going on 8 years. And so we've done a lot of business-related work as well as personal ventures for him, and for an amazing amount of clients over the years.
Can you talk a little bit about the applications that you can be called upon to work on? What would a client call you to do, for example?
Right. Part of what I do is some humanitarian work. And for example, when I was teaching in Scotland, we got a call from one of my colleagues that there was a missing girl in Salt Lake City, young girl. And it was an urgent case. We weren't given any other information. I gave that, what they call a tasking, to my advanced viewers that I was training. And they came up with a lot of information. I emailed it back to my colleague. He added that into the database, emailed me again for some clarification, which I got from the viewers, sent that back. And the information that the viewers got, including my students, was enough, because it was given to the parents. It was enough that from that data, they could tell who she was with, where she was, what was happening, and they were able to go and collect her and take her home.
That's really powerful.
It's an amazing thing when that happens. It's such a validation.
And yet it's not anything related to being psychic, is it?
Well,
Or is it?
psychic and intuitive are used interchangeably. Psychic is sort of an older term that has a lot of negative connotations.
Yes.
Storefront psychic. Whereas I like to think of it as intuitive because everybody's intuitive.
So how many people would you say call you weekly to find money for them or to find minerals or to locate business acquisition or some type of accumulation of wealth and prosperity?
People don't task me to find money. They will task me on perhaps a business proposition that will be beneficial for them. Or, for example, the work I did with John Lear, he'd asked me to look at a potential gold mine that he was working on. And I tell people some weeks I'm working hard and some weeks I'm hardly working. It varies from week to week. But I would say, on an average week, maybe 4 or 5 projects that come in.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it varies. And some of them are humanitarian, some of them are fee-paying.
Have you ever had people ask you to find the right location for their next part of their life?
That comes more under the life coaching. So I try and include remote viewing under life coaching and try and actually have the individual, because life coaching doesn't provide answers to the client,
Correct.
but I can help them look at alternatives and let them use their own intuition to decide where they're going to go next.
But in your life coaching, let's say they have a sense of what locations they're resonating to. For example, right now there's a lot of people who are getting this hunch that they're to move. Like, I cannot tell you how many people I talk to. They have this hunch that they're supposed to move, and they want to move, and they're done with where they are.
Yeah.
But they don't have the sense. They have areas of interest, but they don't have the sense exactly where they're supposed to be or where they would be prospering in this next part of their life.
Yeah, what I do with clients, I do some brainstorming with them. We do a little bit of aptitude testing, vocational testing, interests, look at some of the things they've done in the past, and they write down lists of things that they would like to do. And from that, we can come to some synthesis of potential futures, potential paths that they can take. Then it's up to the client to decide.
And that's a totally different dynamic and process than remote viewing.
It is, although my intuitive sense, and I think the clients as well, comes into play.
Do you ever work with your clients to help them meditate or to become quiet in order to get information?
Only if the client comes to me and I know that they're comfortable with that. Most of the clients that come to me, or if I work with them over phone or internet, are regular folks from out in the world who don't meditate. They are not interested in metaphysics. So I don't do that with them. Basically, they come in with a frown on their face and we start talking. And during the process of talking and doing some of the assessments, then I think their stress level does go down.
Do you get flashes when people are talking to you?
Very often. Very often.
Is it imagery? Is it sensory? Is it words that come into you when you're listening to someone's voice?
In my case, I'm a very visual person. I can visualize very easily. So it's often in the form of pictures, sometimes just a feeling, just a knowing, a knowledge.
So you're highly intuitive
yourself.
I think I am.
Yeah, I think I always have been. I had out-of-body experiences since I was a kid. And I think a lot of children have out-of-body experiences, but they lose the ability or they submerge it as they grow up. But I was able to keep the ability. So I think I am quite intuitive.
When you say out-of-body experiences, what do you mean? I mean, I have a sense of what you're talking about, but what do you mean? Describe it.
As a kid, I would be put to bed and I would still be awake and I would wander around. I would go up on the rooftops and wander around and visit people. And when I told my parents, of course, they said, oh, well, it's all imagination, it's all dreams. But I knew I was still awake.